So welcome everyone to this quite stunningly gorgeous evening in Cambridgeshire. So the wonderful news that leaves you nothing to do, and so it's equally dreadful, is that you can't be prepared. There isn't actually any possibility of preparing. There's no one to get prepared, to be prepared, and there's nothing to prepare for. So this whole notion of, I was always waiting until I'm ready. That's how it always felt to me. Because that's when it will happen, won't it? Whatever you're waiting for, it'll happen when I'm ready. So in the meantime, I should prepare myself. The wonderful news is that there is nothing to be prepared for. There can be no preparation for what will never happen. So I'm not just, in that, I'm not just speaking about what you've imagined, you fantasize you would like to happen. I mean, anything. There isn't anything that is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. At all. There is only what's happening. And even that is only what seems to be happening. You won't find what's happening. There is only what's happening. So you can't even prepare for this, of course not. This is already. And so then all self can do is then work on being prepared for when it does happen, when this does happen, whatever you imagine, when there's only this, not me and this, just this. That's not going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. There's no possibility of whatever you fantasize. So the freedom from possibility, which is the absolute antithesis of everything that self has ever imagined, it wants. That's why I say you don't want this, is the only freedom. Freedom from possibilities. This isn't a possibility. And I guess that may sound, it can sound very negative to self, who lives in possibilities. But of course, if there's no possibilities, there's no impossibility either. Without possibilities, there's no impossibility. There just is what there is. And you're never going to know that. You're not going to know what it is, how it is, why it is, just those questions. And those questions are equally what is. So you're left with nothing to do. Nothing that needs to be done. And I'm not saying that to make it sound attractive, because in a way it's very unattractive. When you've lived a life of purpose and meaning and pursuit of goals, then it can feel quite dreadfully empty. What the fuck am I going to do now? What now? But the question doesn't have any leverage without the one who needs to get somewhere. When there is nowhere to get to, even the question is okay. Just this simple okayness. I can't use the word perfection because that's a fantasy. Just okay as it is. And okay that it couldn't be other than it is. And okay doesn't sound like love, but that's what I mean when I talk about unconditional love. Simple okayness. Even when life feels awfully not okay. It's okay that it's not okay. So this, I'm not suggesting that, you know, you'll be liberated from all the feelings that you've wanted to be liberated from. Anger appears, sadness appears, grief, jealousy. I'm not talking about becoming a saint. I'm not talking about some samadhi. I'm not talking about any state. I'm just suggesting that none of it's yours. And there's a beautiful innocence to that. Don't pretend it's what you want, though. You'll have no one to blame. You know how much you love blaming yourself. Self-love's that. You won't be able to blame yourself, and you won't be able to blame anyone else. Even if you blame them, you'll know it's not. Even if you want to blame them, you won't be able to. There is no fault. You won't be able to blame God. You won't even be able to blame the universe, because there is no universe. I don't know. Whoever you want to make the scapegoat for the stuff in life that you don't want, all of that will just evaporate. The stories remain, but you know, you'll believe them no more than the tooth fairy. This story of who's responsible for what. And that can sound as though this message is irresponsible. But again, it's just like I said with hope and hopelessness, there's no, without responsibility, there's no irresponsibility. There's just a simple innocence. And that it doesn't mean that you like certain behaviors. You can be as anti the behavior with none of the blame. And life tastes better that way, without the bitterness. Wow, I've given a selling point. Life without bitterness. Of course there can be bitterness. Don't expect anyone else, if you say it's not your fault, don't expect anyone else to agree with you. But if it's not my fault, then it's no one's fault. Of course, guilt and blame are no one's fault either. But if you'd like to ask anything or you'd like to share anything, just put your hand up. Do you think I should, Darren, should I shut the chat?
Yeah, it's a bit bright.
God, it is bright. It's a bit bright for me.
Yeah.
I don't like to, though.
Oh, I think we just lost Tim. Oof. Let me give him a buzz. Maybe he's forgotten to plug in this computer. Ah, you're back, Tim. You need to unmute if you can hear me. Ah, there you are.
My Wi-Fi went down.
Ah, okay.
I'm just looking at the router, and it's just
Yeah.
it was red. I haven't had that for a long time. I remember saying router to Kate, and she couldn't stop giggling. Do you mean router?
Router.
Yes, I do.
Mhm.
I like that you said leverage. Of course, it should be leverage instead of leverage,
Of course.
because it's a lever.
Don't get me started on pronunciation. Kate,
I don't really think can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. I don't think I have anything to say except that was so lovely, and I think that you've just made us all speechless. It's lovely. I'm watching this squirrel, and he just sort of jumped through this soccer goal net. He jumped through the little square in the net, and I thought, it's just life just jumping through that net, and it's just no different than us.
Well, I'd like to see you jump through it.
Well, yeah, well, I will. But you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Of course.
This isn't the right word, but the flatness of experience, that there's nothing behind, or that it's not the right word. Flatness is not the right word. The beingness, just being without an awareness of it, without a controller of it, without something making the, Like, it's so obvious when you look at the squirrel that there's no he figuring anything out. And that's what I mean. Just, it's no different from us.
No.
That he just is jumping through a net is seeming to happen.
Yeah.
He isn't jumping through the net.
No.
Yeah. And it's just so amazing how it's all that's ever happening. Just the lack of separation. When you really like, whatever, grok that or whatever, it's stunning. Absolutely stunning. I think.
Thanks.
And one more thing, when you were saying in the beginning, oh God, now I can't remember. You said something, but I just wanted to say, it's like that's how I lived my whole life. It was about waiting, I think.
Mhm.
My whole life,
Yeah.
waiting for, and especially like my music career for artists, we're Darren probably can recognize this. It's like you're always waiting for my real life to kick into gear. That's how it always felt to me. That life was separate from me.
Yeah.
That there was me and there was life, and it'll start at some point, and I'm not ready. Oh, that's because you were going back to being ready.
Yeah.
Preparation.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so you have to prepare yourself.
Yeah.
Be prepared for when it happens.
Yeah, for when it happens.
When it happens, yeah. And of course, the when it happens is unique to every human being. I mean, but the when it happens is universal, I think, to all selves.
Yeah, I think so too.
And but what that actually means is it's making it. When I make it, whatever self has decided that means. And of course, if you've been on a spiritual path, then that's when you make it to self-realization or awakening or enlightenment or whatever other stories you've heard people tell. And I really want to tell everyone that there is nothing to wait for. That's all. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. And that is how self, I don't know, sort of girds itself against the reality of the dying moment to be existential, but to hope for something next.
Mm-hmm.
And that it can experience. And so, yeah, whether it's a record deal or whatever, just the very next moment, I'm going to have it. And it's so obvious that you can't have the moment that you think is now.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have what's to come. But yeah, that is the hope. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Sophie has a hand up.
Hey, Sophie.
Hi, Tim. Hi. You said something about blaming in the beginning, but about blame. And
Yes.
yeah, there used to be a lot of blame here, and I guess it's gone. And sometimes something come back, but more like as a story, but it doesn't really have any. But
Yeah.
it's really weird because you cannot say anymore because of this and that, because of him or because of that, and yeah, there is just no excuses anymore. No, like in a sense, it's like you have less control because you cannot. Yeah, there is no story there anymore.
Well, the stories. I mean, I'd agree. I mean, it's the same for me. As the stories still happen.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, the same story of blame. Blame.
Yeah.
It isn't the story of there to blame. Isn't the issue?
No.
Because if there's no energy in the story,
Yeah, exactly.
Energy of no, they really are to blame. It's just the story of normally we would talk about it's obviously their fault.
Yeah.
But because it's their fault, they're not to blame. It's if it doesn't have if you don't believe the story of blame anymore, then there's just the story of blame, and it has no weight or substance to it at all.
No.
Because of course you have to go along with the story because everyone else is still going to tell that same story.
Yeah.
because that's what
Yeah.
selves do. They have, because self has to have someone to blame, otherwise life is completely unknowable. If nothing is someone, if everything just happens as it happens for no reason and with no purpose, with no cause, if everything is causeless, then it leaves me totally floating in a vast ocean of nothing, and
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that. So self has to have blame. And then of course, when it's seen that self has to have blame, then that's innocent too. If a human being has a sense of self, it has to blame it. And really, there's only two blames, really. It's either so in a situation with me and you, it's my fault or it's your fault.
It's like some kind of escape, like his escape, escaping.
Well, because then I know with blame, what blame does gives the illusion of knowing. So I know how this happened because it was your fault.
Yeah.
And knowing how it happened, how something happened, gives self the comfort of I know how life works.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. It's complete bullshit. Absolutely. No one knows how life works at all. In fact, life doesn't even work. There's no life working. It's much worse than no one knows how. It just isn't working. It's working is that it's moving forward and it's getting somewhere. This isn't getting anywhere. This doesn't move forward. There is no progress or regression. The world isn't falling into wreck and ruin like everyone tells me every fucking day. Drives me nuts. Nor are we making progress towards some, greater, better future. It's equally nonsensical.
But it seems like there is progress, but at the same time it doesn't move, so it's a bit tricky.
No, but the whole all ideas of progress and and decline, they only exist in comparison with a past that never happened.
Yeah. We always go to square number one at the end,
Yeah.
But there is like some kind of breaking down, for me. It's like, because no one to blame and no progress, and it sometimes feels really scary, but I don't know to whom. It's like just scary. That's
Well, it's so the scariness for me, it's like being adrift in the ocean. I mean, it's scary.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where are you going to turn? So each way you turn, there's nothing because there's no one to blame. So you're looking for a reason, you're looking for cause, and you look, and in whatever direction you turn, there's nothing. There's no one to blame.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so for that sense of the one who would like to know so that I feel in control of life, that's scary.
Yeah.
But there is nothing to fear because there was no one to ever be in control anyway.
Yeah.
But for the one there can still be a sense of I want to be in control. I mean, it's a habit of a lifetime. It's habitual thinking that those thought patterns are very, I think the circuitry becomes ingrained, those habits of thinking. And blame is one of those. Responsibility, blame, causality.
I think it's really about, I think the fear is like really losing control now that there is no control about anything. I think.
No,
Anyway.
control is a story.
Yeah, I know, but it feels so real and so huge, and thank you.
But of course, there's no lack of control either. This is so the absence of control sounds like there'll be no control. No, there is what we call control. Me being in control isn't just natural behavior. And we say one human being, they're totally out of control, and then another very, sensible, refined human being, then they're completely in control. No, they're equally neither in control or out of it. So it isn't the opposite of control, the absence of control. It's just freely happening, and you just, it's it's not the frightening sense of out of control, which I was always afraid of. A lot of selves, when they are depressed, the sense of depression is the sense of not being in control, that I've lost the plot. I've lost the plot, literally. I knew what the plot of my life was. I like lost the plot, it's good. My life had a plot. I'd mapped out the future chapters of my life as well as the one that I'm on, and I know the ones that have gone before. So this is the plot of my story. Now I've fucking lost the plot. I don't know what the plot of my life is at all. No one does. Everyone who says they do is under the illusion that life has a plot. But life doesn't have a plot.
Thank you.
We're storytellers, Sophie, aren't we? You know, as human beings, we tell stories. I mean, this is just another one. But
it's also maybe possible that like the body is like full of the stories of the me, and once like the stories start to fall away, like the body feels very uncomfortable, very like in fear, like wow,
yeah,
this is so different, and like they have to get used to it, and you know all that stuff.
Well, when it felt like it was falling away for me, I was terrified.
Yeah.
I've heard other people's stories and they weren't terrified. I'm always surprised at that, but you know, there aren't any rules. There are no plots. There are no plot lines that need to be followed.
No.
No, not at all.
No.
But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if most selves are afraid if the sense of, you know, the direction of my life suddenly go off the rails, losing the plot.
Right. Yeah.
Falling to pieces. Breakdown.
Yeah, that's it, the breaking down, but it's not really clear what is breaking down. I think this is so weird.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, when selves have a sense of, I mean, when I was younger, depression is a relatively new word. Up until relatively recently, everyone has said nervous breakdown. In England, they would have anyway. That was what it was called. Oh, she's had a bit of a nervous breakdown. I think she's pulling herself together though. I think she's, you know, she's pulling the piece. Bless her heart. Yeah, it's best you don't go round there though. Don't go speaking to her because it's fucking catching probably. That was in my, I remember my mum talking about her friend who had a breakdown. And it was all hushed tones. It was like, oh no, she's had a breakdown. Yeah. So kind of, I mean, what we're speaking about is the total breakdown.
Yes. It feels like that at times. It does.
It does, yeah.
It does,
Or not. I mean, it doesn't to everybody, but it can do.
It's not all the time. It's like sudden. It's like a sudden sort of,
yeah.
It's in grip and suddenly. Yeah.
Well, it's not too bad. It's not too bad if it only lasts a little while, is it? If it comes and goes, it's not too bad.
Anyway, thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Sophie. Michael.
I've been playing or trying to play with the idea that anything said or anything contemplated or any definitive statement about our condition only strengthens the idea that we have a condition.
Mm-hmm.
That any conclusion about our condition leaves the impression that that we have one. And even including this, of course, that we're left with not even nothing. We're left with this simple sentience of, and even that gives us a certain reality. When the objectified perspective that I believe the brain creates is an illusion. And for it to talk about itself or to consider itself only strengthens the illusion. There's no way out. There's nothing that can be said.
No.
From within a dream, if you look in a dream or your nighttime dream and try to find out what's really going on, what's really happening, you can't. Quite often in my dreams, for a long time, I would try to find my home, and I would lose my car keys or lose my phone, and I'd get on the freeway after a period of time, and I couldn't remember the off-ramp.
Mhm.
And of course, we have no home in a dream. And we have no home here
No.
because we don't exist. I think that's the hard one. That's the point at where a non-duality teacher commits suicide. And that has happened. At the end of the rope, there's nothing.
No.
And that's, I think, can be the scary part. I think it can be also the joyful part, the peace that passes understanding. Again, all of those are conclusions and statements, definitive statements about something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But it's a hint, I think, at our ultimate emptiness and that of everyone around us, dream characters, everyone we love. As you said once about your father, he always and only existed as a group of memories from a little boy, an adolescent, a budding soccer star.
Yeah.
All of those are the self. If you watch somebody die or been around somebody with Alzheimer's, their memories disappear and you can see the person disappearing. And we will all disappear one day, simply dissolve back into whatever this whatever this is. And even that's this definitive statement about a condition that is not a condition at all.
No.
I don't talk about this too much, and I don't think I would never talk about this to my grandchildren. Their life is just budding. They're pushing out into the world and getting jobs, but I would never tell them this. I think even seekers have to be at the end of their rope, on the lip of insanity for a time before it dawns that nothing exists, and never did and never will. It's not for people that have just started seeking.
No.
It's for people who have been through the war.
Yeah, I know you say that. I'm amazed how many young people seem to. When I in my story going to see Tony Parsons, the average age was about, I was the youngest one there at 50. Yeah, really, that's how it was. And now there's so many young people speaking about it. It's that does seem, I've had quite a few people talk about that with me, you know, what's that all about? Well, it's not about anything, but it is interesting that there are a lot of young people. And I go, well, you haven't fucking suffered enough. which is your point exactly. I know.
Yeah,
I do think that. I think, well, yeah, I know you think you've suffered, but you fucking haven't.
Yeah.
Of course that's rubbish, but that's, you know, that's an old man speaking.
for it. I've seen several young people who start talking about this and doing pretty good. I mean, they get a following, and but several of them have just disappeared.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened to them. I think this can be so crushing, so dehumanizing, so barren. It's even beyond barren. It leaves you nothing, not even love.
No.
But out of that ash, out of that pile of ashes, this joy of simply being, of watching a swirl, it becomes thrilling. My granddaughter is a budding entrepreneur, and so we have been that ourselves, and her father was, and so we're trying to encourage her and help her, and I'm thrilled for her. Life can be thrilling. I watch you with your boys. That alone is enough to keep the fires burning.
That's true.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Michael.
Razia has a hand up.
Hi, Razia.
Hi, Tim. I don't really have anything to say as such. But I mean, like, recently I've realized that, like what Michael says is so true. There's not even love. I mean, what do you love? You know, I mean, there can only be like self-love. And you're looking at this person and you're saying to yourself, I've created you. I've created this person. You don't exist outside of my mind, you know? And suddenly you realize, God, I mean, that this person doesn't exist. They don't exist. That these people that you seemingly love and have, they are just figments of your imaginings, you know? And then you think about it and you say, God, how can I love that which I am, you know? I mean, it's just me. And then if you get into this otherness, like, and you look and you're back in the dream and you're looking at people and you're seeing others, and somehow there's this choicelessness, you know? I mean, you realize every story that you are seeing and that people ultimately have this blame, they have shame of what they have done. And you're looking at it and you're saying, but where's the choice? Life is happening. It's just happening on its own, you know? There's no one there that's in charge, that's saying that this is the way it should be. And even you have no choice. So how do you blame yourself? Where is the guilt? Where is the shame? Obviously, we feel responsible when things happen. Like I always used to feel responsible, that somehow I had an effect on certain situations and the outcome was bad because of me. You know? But yeah, like you said, who's responsible? I mean, this character doesn't even exist outside of this. So I don't know. It's like suddenly and then I got up this morning and there was this lightness here. There was this beauty, this love again. And just the simple joy of just listening to music and just being. So although Michael talks about this hopelessness, there's that lots of non-duality people come to this. But then when you also feel this joy. I don't know, I feel it. I feel there's something much more beautiful when you realize that life just happens. It just happens. The beauty of it.
Thanks, Rosie. I mean, I do speak about this as hopeless, because of course hope only exists in the future. So of course this is hopeless. But the thing is, it's not hopeless in the way that hopeless is normally used as a word, which is the antithesis of hope. The absence of hope is the absence of hopelessness. This is neither hopeful nor hopeless without a future. There needs a future for hopeless to exist. Hopeless is the existence of a hopeless future. A future that doesn't exist is neither the existence of hope or hopelessness. You can't say what it is. It's everything. It's completely empty and absolutely full. This is totally alive and absolutely dead. There is only death, there is only life. Birth happens as it dies. There is no continuation. All continuation is just a story. And so there is neither hope or hopeless. You just don't know. It's worse than hopeless. You don't know. There isn't anything to know. So it's not hopeless. Self likes hopeless. I can be miserable as sin and hopeless because I know it's hopeless. It's just another place for me to land. I can know that life is hopeless. No, you fucking well can't. You won't know whether it's got any hope or it's got no hope or it's got a purpose or it's got no purpose. This is much worse than anything less. There isn't less any more than there's more. That just what is all. And you'll never know it. No one will. And the thing about this isness, this aliveness, this what we call life, it is completely empty. And absolutely alive. How can emptiness be alive? Physicists are going to spend the next millennia trying to work out how emptiness is fucking alive. There you go. That's my prediction for a future that doesn't exist. That's what it's going to be all about. How the shitting hell can nothing be everything? I mean, it is at the root of science, at the core of it, that's what it's all about. Scientists already know that this is nothing, it's empty, and it's the fullness is the emptiness. I don't want to sound like I know any science because I fucking don't, but I read enough and listen to, what's his name? What's the pop star? What's the pop star professor?
Brian Cox.
Brian, love Brian.
Oh, it's just funny because as you were
Things
talking,
can only, and do you know what his famous song? You probably don't know Brian Cox in America, but he is famous. He was the keyboard player for, well, their hit song was "Things Can Only Get Better."
Yeah.
Which I think is funny.
and it's funny you were talking about science, and I was thinking exactly about science, Brian Cox, and he said there's this quote that he said there's a deeper picture of reality in which time and space do not exist. Space and time, concepts so foundational to how we experience the world, are not fundamental properties of nature. And then he says, don't worry if you don't know what I'm talking about, because I don't understand what I'm talking about, and nobody else does either.
Brilliant. When the number one guy says that, you go, oh yeah. Maybe I could have been a scientist if I'd have paid more attention in class, after all. Yeah, that's lovely. Really, we're speaking about not knowing isn't as bad as it sounds. You know, I always wanted to know and thought, you know, the answer would be in more knowing. Greater understanding, especially, not just knowledge. Knowledge alone is, you know, seems pretty superficial, but understanding, deep, no. Not understanding, not knowing, regardless of what's known or understood, that is the piece that surpasses all understanding. I don't doubt that no one knows more about everything than anyone else, and definitely knows no more about nothing. Of course, people know more about things, but about nothing, there aren't any geniuses on nothing, I don't think. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, man. Nice to see you. Caleb?
I'm trying to. Oh, hello. Yes, you can hear me now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it D Ream? Was the band?
Got it. Brilliant. D-Ream.
Ream.
Which was Dream. I mean, there's a lot of non-duality going on, to be honest, in them. With Professor Brian Cox, there's a lot of non-duality going on underneath.
Mm. I wanted to mention actually something Michael alluded to about this home, the non-exist. There's no home.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've been searching for home my whole life,
Yeah.
especially since we moved when I was 6 or 7. We moved to a new place, and then ever since then I had dreams of going back to the old place, and
Yeah.
ever since then I feel like I've never felt at home.
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole spiritual, the idea that there is only home,
Mm-hmm.
this big spiritual carrot for me.
Yeah.
This I would just want to be home. I want to feel home.
Yeah.
And then just hearing Michael saying, "Oh, there is no home." It doesn't.
Well, of course, but of course, that's exactly the same thing. If there's only home, there is no home, is there?
Yeah.
They're not two different things. Because if there's only home, what's the point of you looking for it?
Yeah.
You know, you're looking for what can't be found because there is only. It's exactly the same as Tony Parsons always talked about the open secret. It's exactly the same, just a different way of speaking about it. Is that if there's only, if everything is already everything, there isn't home somewhere else. There's only home and there is no home.
Yeah.
You can't find, well, buy it. Yeah, I mean, what I'm suggesting, I haven't found home, or none of the other speakers that you listen to, whoever you think has come home, got home, arrived home, they haven't. That's the whole message.
Yeah.
That there isn't a home to fucking get to. There's only home. You never moved. You can't escape. You can't get away from home, and you can't come home.
Yeah.
So there's only home and there's no fucking home. They're not two. But you won't know when you're home because there's only home.
Yeah.
So there is no home. If you can't go back to it and you can't escape it, then there isn't one, is there? So what you're looking for can't be found is really, yeah. And that's when it can feel really hopeless and despair. That's how it felt to me. When despair set in for me, it just became so starkly, acutely obvious that what I'd always wanted was not possible.
Yeah.
Wasn't a possibility. It was the impossibility of coming home that was the liberation from the desire to come home.
Yeah.
What a load of shit to talk about stories, hey? But that's how we work. We work in stories, don't we? We do, like you said, Caleb. You've always had this dream of coming home.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a fantasy. It's a fantasy, totally.
Yeah. And I kind of know that. But there's still something in me that's still, even though I know it's hopeless, there's still something that
Well,
has hope somehow. It's
well,
it's
imagine
beautiful.
what are you going to do if you give it up, Caleb? It's quite. I mean, be gentle with yourself about that. I mean, what the fuck are you going to be left with if you give that up? You're going to be. I mean, it's maybe all you fucking got. You get rid of that. What you got then?
Well, yeah, exactly.
No, I really mean that. I mean, you know, don't think, why am I hanging on? Well, you're hanging on because it's all you got.
Yeah, yeah.
That there is something, that there is somewhere to get to, and there isn't. You're never going to get anywhere, Caleb.
Yeah. No, I know.
That's the most incredible news. Sounds fucking dreadful, I know.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why you don't want to tell your children, like Michael said. I'm not telling my kids. My Alfie's got his football debut on Saturday. I'm not going to say there's no football match and, you know, there's no future for you as a footballer. Fucking hell. In fact, I can't say this in case he hears the recording. He's got his debut on Saturday. I'm excited for him. Because like Michael says, the weirdest thing, when all of this is fucking empty, when there's no point, it's all empty in a most outrageously fucking dreadful way, then there's this incredible openness and aliveness and joy that was really just stifled by my desire for what is to come.
Mm.
And there's nothing to come. And I'm nervous and excited for Alfie's football. So when Michael said, you know, that's good, that's enough to keep you interested and alive, it certainly is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely. And yeah, I don't just mean with kids, but the coming home, Caleb, no, you can put that to bed.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I kind of, yeah.
I know. And you know, and if I was being really nice, I'd say you're already home, but of course you're fucking not.
Sorry.
No. I know, it's so horrible. And yet it is funny.
Yeah, it is funny.
It is funny, yeah, with everyone trying to come home when there's no one to come home or leave.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's a lot of that spiritual carrot.
Yeah.
It
is, yeah.
I think that's, yeah, for a while I was definitely.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, that's why that's so popular. That message is always going to be popular because it's giving self the answer it wants to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, and then ever since hearing Tony and now, you know,
yeah,
hearing you, then there's the realization that it's then there isn't that.
I think it's just incredible that there's much more freedom that there isn't an answer, Caleb, than there is an answer. That's immeasurably more loving.
Yeah.
It is.
Thanks, Tim.
Cheers, Caleb.
I was just thinking about what you're saying about waiting for the right time as well. It's really, really the same, you know, coming home, waiting to come home, waiting for the right times, just waiting.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kate has a hand up.
Kate.
Oh, I can't remember what I was going to say.
Sorry,
But-
Kate.
No. But you just said, can't even remember what you just said.
No.
Oh God.
Well, that's just.
I've noticed
that's
this has been happening a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sort of noticed the mind just thought it's something, life itself,
Yeah.
trying to, find some thought to hold on to. And it could just be the thought of, fuck it, excuse my language, 5 seconds ago.
Who have you been hanging around with? That bad language. Anyway.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I find myself go, and it's sort of like when you know, we've all had this where like you're mad about something, you're irritated, and then for a second you forget what it was.
Yeah.
And you feel yourself and you're like, wait, I know I was mad about something. Like it's like the plot drops out, right? Speaking of the plot is just whoosh, gone. And you're sort of left there existing going, wait, what? The plot's I thought I was mad.
Yeah.
So those moments come up a lot because that is really just what's underneath it all. That's saying too much, but that's the aliveness is just sort of, and then we have to sort of remember, wait, let me concoct a little story here, a script, which is interesting that I do this for a living, basically put dialogue to essentially a silent film, you know, for my work. And I'm like, I feel like I get to see firsthand all the time, like sort of the reality.
Yeah.
Just, you know,
yeah, the
narrating.
The dialogue is, it's all empty, isn't it? It doesn't mean anything.
It's empty because, and it's optional. Because it's optional, it's empty. You know? Anyway, that wasn't really what I was going to say, but there you go. And also to what Michael said about, yeah, he wouldn't tell his kids. I'm like, I feel like I'm sort of trying to tell my kids. I actually want, in other words, yeah, there's more freedom in no answers. And even if someone gives you an answer, you will never believe it. You'll never, like, we say we want an answer. We don't, because we know somehow that there is no transaction of you giving me an answer and me receiving it. It'll never happen. Cannot believe, because there's no one to believe. So we don't want an answer. And I'm trying to tell my kids that, actually. Maybe I'm a horrible mom.
No.
It feels like the most compassion. It really does.
You know, I wouldn't give them the full works, maybe, but, you know, suggesting that answers that aren't the answer.
Yeah, I'll start there.
Some sort of middle ground, maybe.
There's a middle ground.
For teenage kids, some sort of middle ground that, yeah, no one knows all the, I would go down the line of with kids. Look, it's okay.
Yeah.
Actually, do you know there's a secret? No one knows what's going on. I love telling kids that.
Yes, I do.
I would go
I
down.
tell them that a lot.
You know, and I just whisper, don't tell anyone else.
Yeah, I do that.
Don't tell your friends. It's a secret, but nobody knows what the hell is going on.
That's what I do. And Michael's right that most people wouldn't come to this till later because they do want, they think they want carrots.
Well, you're not
going to think they want them.
You're never going to be attracted by this whilst you're still seeking answers. You're just not.
No.
No, of course not.
Yeah, and a teenager is in the middle of building himself, and so no, it's not like I would try to destroy his personhood, but yeah, middle road.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm sounding very Buddhist. The middle.
Yeah, the middle way. The middle way.
Yes. The middle way, but you can throw your eightfold path down the fucking drain and stick it up your ass.
Quarter way.
Quarter way, yeah. Okay, yeah, go quarter.
Delicately put, Tim.
Yeah. Eightfold path. Bah humbug. Like one path isn't enough. God, give me some more paths that I must follow in order to be righteous. Freedom from righteousness. That's what I preach, preacher man. Where's that song? That's what I preach, preacher man. Just got a lyric come to me. Well, lovely to see you all. Thanks for coming. Have a lovely week. I'm at Brendan's in Brighton on Saturday, which is exciting. A weekend at the seaside, always my favourite place. If you ever come to England, you have to go to Brighton. Yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks, Darren. Thanks everybody who contributed. Lovely to see you all.
Tim, would you share a video of Alfie's debut on the football field?
Not well, yes,
Because
I would. Unfortunately, this is I'm being very apologetic already. I'm not going to be there because I'm in Brighton. So I'm doing a talk whilst he's making his debut, which he's not very happy about. But no, so my brother's hoping to go, and to be honest, he's more than a good substitute for me. Alfie will be thrilled if my brother goes. I don't like to think that he's happier if Tony goes than me, but he probably is.
Oh, I'd love to see a bit of it.
Yeah, well, I will video.
Right.
He's so excited to be playing. It's his first competitive game.
Oh,
yeah,
gee.
yeah.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, Raja. Goodbye, Michael. Goodbye.
She left already, Razia. It always feels too short. It's like I can't believe an hour is gone.